Friday, June 23rd, 2023. It's a day off, earned day off, EDO from my employer today. But I would like to work. And I don't feel like having job interviews these days, so I've signed up recently for some help with that. There's companies that, temporary placement agencies, fill out some forms, have a conversation with the manager, the clerk, and you don't really realize that you're doing it because the employees at temporary work agencies, they meet a lot of people, and the most important is you show up and you do as you're told. So I showed up, I filled out the form. That already means somebody else would be willing to hire me without the stress and analysis paralysis and hassle of a job interview that we go through for permanent full-time employment. Just want to work, accomplish a task with my hands and my back, work with others, have a clearly defined objective, and by the end of the day be able to say I got closer to that objective. Look, the eaves trough are clean, the concrete has been poured, the shop is neat and tidy, all those kind of things that really matter to me. It's just unfortunately it doesn't pay too well, but I find that type of work genuine and extremely satisfying. And part of the experience I get to go through today, because the protocol was send a text message between 6 and 7 a.m. on any day that you would like work. Okay, today at 6 a.m. precisely, I send in my text message. And then I wait, right? Go about my morning routine. And now I'm here, and that's why I looked at my phone. So I had a text message back, 50 minutes later. And what did it read? I can bring this up for you. It's worth sharing. It says, morning, nothing is available. But if that changes, I will contact you. Thanks for checking in. And then the person signs their name and their company. And it really provides some insight into where we're at, because the employee, the manager was telling me, during COVID at their place, they had 35 people lined up outside every day for work. And then recently, she said, right now she has 300 people of active files that she can find work for. And even with construction, which is one of the categories I signed up for, said, we got nothing. It's like no one needs an assistant to anything. No, because the work is shutting down. And the funny thing, I have a job that's different from working. Do I feel satisfied? Do I feel that I've contributed and I've accomplished something? Work is different from a job. there's an old saying about that. So I get to carry on with my office job, chores and routine for the day. Just keep house and make my life a little better with my time off, put my efforts towards things that I want to do. But I'll also be reflecting and appreciating that I'm kind of watching my phone today. You know, I'd kind of like to work. And of course, I'll work doing those things around here. I can tidy up my place, I can vacuum, I can clean, I can look at my home at the end of the day and say, hey, I worked today. And that will be quite satisfying. It's Friday. The kids have one more week of school. There's something I appreciate about that, and I find it motivating that, you know, the kids are working, they're going to school, so it kind of motivates me to work. There's a sense of teamwork that they're going through their stuff, making their memories, and sometimes experiencing little pieces of life's nonsense. Well, I'm doing it too. You know, we get to share stories, or they get to kind of educate me about what life is really like and the lessons they're learning as a kid. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, I learned, because the advice from Jordan Peterson, uh, acclaimed psychologist, lecturer, author, philosopher, is make one room in your home as beautiful as possible. Okay. I found picking that room a little bit challenging because all of these rooms are kind of exposed to other people. There's kind of interference and chaos, and I found it a little bit challenging. Also because these rooms are so big and there's so much clutter. Where to start? Bit of an excuse, but I also realized a little bit more about my peers and maybe how they think. Because I started to clean up my car yesterday, and as I was doing it, I realized how it felt, and I remembered Jordan Peterson's advice, and I thought, this is a much simpler endeavor, much simpler than any of the rooms I live in. I could have that separation. I realized maybe that's a different way of looking at men looking after their cars. You know, maybe it is a brag, maybe it is some of these dangerous personality traits that people like to assign to men. Or maybe the guy that's polishing his car out, at the ledge or out at a park. Maybe he just doesn't want to be around his neighbors today. He doesn't want anyone to. He wants to be around strangers and just do his thing. And at least he's making one thing in his life look as beautiful as possible. I think men sometimes get mislabeled, and I think in some cases it's maybe accurate, but I don't know enough about either. I haven't met enough of those people to really have an opinion myself. I can just say I'm familiar with some of the discussion, but I lack knowledge to comment. But it motivated me. It suggested to me that, yeah, I like vacuuming my floors here. I like sweeping and washing them. Keep my dishes current and my counters clean. But then after that, I often struggle for, okay, what next? What's the next little thing I can do? And I could see maybe I could straighten up these books behind me. That might be a nice endeavor. But then it's just clean up my car, organize it, vacuum it. It's a much simpler activity. And because I spend so much time in my car as a transition between work and home and work, there's maybe a lot of wisdom to making sure that transition space, whether I'm coming or going or coming, that when I'm entering that transition space, it's gonna benefit both of my worlds, work and home and work. So I can see that I get to look forward to that. A little bit of household chores and diligence here, straighten up some books to improve my home life a little bit, but then a little bit at a time, right? And unfortunately, my home isn't too messy. It's just a little bit of clutter, but generally I've kept it decent. But yeah, working on that car a little bit. Working on the car. You know, and it gets me outside, and it gives me that sense of pride. And then when I am in that space, it's refreshing, it's rejuvenating for me, and I'll carry that in my travels. When I arrive at my destination, I feel better because I've spent a moment in my own personal sanctuary a little bit. Yeah. Those are some of my thoughts for the morning. All for now.